Okay, let's talk about our personal development plan. So we've talked elsewhere about why we do these, but I'm going to recap a little bit, and we're going to talk specifically through the sheet of paper that we think captures a variety of things to help you in your career accomplish the goals that you set for yourself. So elsewhere, we've asked you to think about who you are. We've asked you to do a Myers-Briggs test. We've asked you to do a variety of other things that can help you think through who you are. In addition, we've asked you to think through why you do what you do, which is very interrelated to who you are, because who you are determines both what, why, and how you do things. So I hope you've given those some thought. I hope you are a little resolved in yourself as to who you are, what your strengths are, and where you're trying to go with your career and your life. Your career ends up being a significant part of your life, so it's very important. So give that some thought. Now, we're going to take those things and get them down into something that's a little practical about your skill set and what you want your skill set to be a year from now and what you want to accomplish, so that a year from now you look back on the year and you say, yes, that was a successful year. I'm content with that. I'm proud of it. I'm resolved. That was well done. And so it's worth thinking about a little bit. You are either new or you should have done a SWOT. So get your SWOT and put it in front of you while you're thinking through some of these things. If you've written up a little history of how you got to where you are and where you're trying to go in your life, if you have a 3-year plan with some goals out there, get that, grab it, put it in front of you. If not, think through those things just a little bit before you do this, because we don't want your 1-year plan to be going northwest and your 3-year plan to be going east. That will not help anybody. So try to think through those things and remind yourself what your goals have been and where you want to go. So with your SWOT in front of you, which, by the way, remember, with your SWOT, that is feedback you've received from people who work with you. It is not gospel. It is not your parents talking to you. It is not your spouse talking to you. It is something that people who know you a certain amount and work with you have said to you. You need to be strong enough to consider that criticism. What they say is a strength, you need to consider, is that a strength of mine? If they say it's a weakness, you should think through that. Generally, love is blind, but the neighbors ain't. And people can see your weaknesses in you. If you think you're hiding them, you're probably not. However, just because someone said one comment, don't overreact to that comment. So put it in front of you with some sobriety, but consider. Now, let's put together a plan for yourself for the year that will help you, and it will help your supervisor to know what you are committed to and what you actually want to accomplish in your career, and that you think will help the group within which you work, so that you'll be a more contributing member to the group. So we have this simple little plan, and the first thing you want to do is think through where you are now. It's worthwhile to take a little bit of a snapshot to say, either my skills are this, my earnings are this. You can make one of these for a store, and you can say our store is characterized by this, our customer base, etc. And writing down a little bit of how things are now is worthwhile, and that's in this box. Here's where I think I am now, but this is where I want to be. So this is, you can call it your hope, it's your plan, it's where you want to get to. So you're going to be starting here, and you hope to be moving here. So what I like to do is, if I put a characteristic of how many hours I'm working a week here, then the same line next to it, say this is how many hours a week I hope to be working. For some people, they want to get up to full employment. For some people, they say I want to cut back from what I'm working. Whatever your goal is, put that there. It could be the number of tickets per week you're getting through. It could be your earnings. It could be your skill set. I'm characterized in my job at a level that I want to raise. So then you put over here, what you want to go to. This takes a good deal of time, and it's very much worth thinking through. You really can't have a plan without at least 3 lines in there, and we've limited it at 8 because if you get too many plans for too many things, now you're going to need a team to accomplish it. This is for your personal plan, so somewhere between 3 and 8 would probably be healthy, of how things are now and how I hope they'll be in a reasonable time frame. Then we get into specific steps and dates. This is going to be helpful to you if you believe in what you're doing and if you actually want to accomplish the things you put up here. Remember, when you say this is where I am and this is where I hope to be, you're saying this is where I want to get to. Most of us partly want to do that and are partly lazy and don't want to do that. And so this is going to help that part of you that is working against your own self-interest. This part is going to be an action plan with dates and time frames. So the part of you that works for your own destruction, the part of you that irrationally works against your own best interests, that part is going to not like this. So when you're frustrated later, yeah, that's the part of you that needs to go away. If the rational part of you, if the best part of you says, here's where I am, but here's where I want to be, remember that there's been part of you holding you back, and that part of us, which usually involves laziness, maybe selfishness, maybe fear of everyone realizing I don't know something, so you've never asked for help because you think they don't know you don't realize what you're doing. Okay, there's a lot of parts of us that hold us here, and that part is not going to like this. So this is your action plan. Here's where you're going to make your to-do list. If you're a box checker, you'll like this. If you're not a box checker, if you're a procrastinator, you're going to hate this part. You need to learn to love this part because this is where the rubber meets the road, and you write down, I need more training. I'm going to have it done by March 31st. And make something that's reasonable, that you are comfortable with, that's not too much of a stretch goal, and something that you think, if at the end of the year I had done this, I'd be happy. And don't make too many goals in the first quarter and say, I'm just going to get it all done. That's unrealistic. Spread some of this out. Be sure there's something in every quarter for your annual plan of how you're going to improve. So this is where you get your little boxes. And as you sit down quarter to quarter with your supervisor and review how your progress is, you're going to check some of these things off bit by bit. And be sure that I've already said that. This is your list, and this has deadlines. So that will help you with becoming what you want to become. Here's where you are now. Here's what your plan is. Here's what you want to be. This is what you say you value. And this is help in getting there. And that's going to help your supervisor to hold your feet to the fire and to help you get there, to give you feedback. Hey, you're 2 weeks out. You said you're going to do this. Have you done it yet? And that's very helpful. Now, this lower part can be a lot of things. We have something here that's financial, learning and growth, customers, internal processes. You don't need to use any of those. Use them if they're helpful. Some of you may say, in my household, we want to get out of debt, or we want to be able to buy a bigger house. So then you might have some financial goals. Or you might say, I want to get a bonus at the end of a quarter, or 2 out of 4 quarters this year I want to hit a bonus. Okay, then what are the objectives for you to do that? In your job, what things do you need to do so that you hit new pay areas? That's going to depend on the policies of the specific company where you work. And so this could be financial, or it could be learning and growth. I want to have more training. I want to reach another level in my profession. If that's the case, then let's talk about what are the objectives or goals for training. It can be caught up in here, but oftentimes these things are a little more nebulous. So if it's helpful, use this down here. You don't need to use these things. You can have a completely adequate plan of how I am now, where I hope to be, and the steps I'm going to take to get there. That can be fine. But these can be helpful. If you're making a store plan, you could say, what sort of customers do I have? Or if you're a service advisor, here's a plan I have with customer interaction. I've done this, I've done that. With customers, it could be, I want a 4.5 star rating for my personal reviews if I get Google reviews. or whatever. We're leaving this for you. This needs to be helpful for you. So make use of it if it makes sense. Don't make use of it if it doesn't make sense. And if you don't have a financial goal, if you think of another area, fine, put that down. If you have interpersonal relationships with at home, if you want to get along with your children better, then you could put that in there and think through that. Just because this is at work and you're going to review this quarterly doesn't mean it needs to be only things at work. This can be as flexible as you want it to be for your goals. So the hardest part is the first step. I realize that. Unless you got a job in human resources, you didn't wake up this morning and think, oh, I want to do this. I think this will help you though. The fundamental issue here is you are not all you could be, and you know it. And your mother knows it, and your family knows it. And so you can be more than you are. And so this is a annual plan to take a part of your life. What you do at work is not your whole life, we realize that. But you're going to take a part of your life and analyze it enough that you become more capable, you become more competent, you become more of who you could be. So think through what that is, think through what steps you can take to get there, and then your supervisor and others around you are going to help you to become the person you know you could be. I want to encourage you, remember that most American business research for the last 50 years has said if you spend all of your time trying to fix your weaknesses, you're not going to do very well. You have those weaknesses for a reason. For some reason, you're bad at that, and you admire people who are good at that. And while you need to keep your weaknesses from becoming mission-critical failures, that is important. What you want to do is spend as much of your year as you can emphasizing your strengths and getting better at your strengths. You were brought here, you were hired onto this team, you're valued usually for your strengths. People will come and give you feedback on weaknesses when they become, when they rear their head and become relevant to your team. Spend time minimizing your weaknesses, but spend the majority of your year, spend the majority of your plan focusing on getting better at your strengths. That's going to work better for you in the long run. It's going to work better for your family. And that's the person you're meant to be, is the one who operates in your strengths, not the one who's constantly apologizing for your weaknesses and trying to get rid of your weaknesses. Just be sure that you're functioning mostly in your strengths. So, also, do the first draft of this, even if it's poorly done. Get something down. It's not a writing assignment. It's not perfect. Do something, sit down with your supervisor, and then talk through it with them. And it may need to be augmented or changed, or what your goals are may not fit with your team. There will be back and forth. The first draft is not the final draft. Up here we have, version and date, because those things change. So get something down and then sit down with your supervisor and go over it. And it'll change. That's okay. We like to start, hopefully we're starting this before the end of the year, so that by the first of the year it's sort of set up what you want to be, and your supervisor's bought in. You've had a chance to make sure it fits with what the team is doing and what will help everybody if you strengthen a certain area. So all that to say, just start. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Don't let perfectionism stop you. Sometimes you just need to grab on and move forward, and it'll get better. In addition, if this is the first time you've done this, the first one always feels uncomfortable. Everything gets more comfortable over time. And if you can give some serious thought to what you actually value and what you actually want to be better at, it will make this list more meaningful to you, and this will become helpful to you, not an irritation. Because remember, this will irritate the part of you that's been holding you back from becoming who you could be. That part of you is going to be irritated by this. You're going to think it's your supervisor. You're going to think it's your company. No, it's not. It's you. So list things realistically. Take a few steps. Don't try to fix everything all at once, and operate it in your areas of strength. That's going to feel more comfortable. So let's get after it. Remember who you are and what you stand for.